Welcome everybody to the Extra Credit Show. I am Anselmo Moreno.
And I'm Richard David.
And this show is all about helping you master your credit score so you can get that extra credit that you deserve. And today we got a great show lined up for everybody. First and foremost, I want to give a shout out to Rental Karma. Rental Karma, actually, we talked about them a little bit last week. And we talked about adding rental history to your credit report and really went deep into the details as to what that does to your credit score. But I didn't tell you guys at all this week because I wanted to surprise you on the show. Rental Karma reached out to me over on Monday, actually. And it actually happened because I got this idea. I kept seeing these Rental Karma ads on my Facebook feed. So I decided, people commented on the ads like, oh, is this real? How does this work? And there was a bunch of comments on it. And they have a great social media manager because she engages everybody that comments. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to throw my comment in here. And I linked the show where we talk about adding rental history. I linked it to their advertisement.
Fantastic.
And I was like, you know, I'm just going to do it. If my comment gets deleted, oh, well, right, I can't lose much. So I was kind of doing a little bit of guerrilla marketing there, plug the show, link the YouTube channel. And she watched it. The girl watched it, and she reached out and she actually subscribed and left a comment on our channel. And she basically wanted to correct a few things, which I thought was great. It was just correcting the pricing. So we wanted to just have a redaction and a correction. $25 setup fee per person, and then $5 a month for every month going back. And I think where we got it wrong is we said something like $40 per person, which was probably, we mixed it up with another one of the services. So it's $25.
Oh, we apologize.
$25 per person, $5 a month for every month you go back, and then it's $6.95 moving forward every single month, and $8.95 if you have a roommate. So basically, two people can get that on their credit report for $8.95 or $6.95 if it's just one person. She also clarified that TransUnion is the only bureau that's actually accepting rental payment history going back. So past rental payment history. That's a very important distinction. And that's regardless of what company you use, whether you use Rental Karma or any of the other rent reporting companies. So I thought that was kind of cool. Shout out to Rental Karma and their community manager for doing a great job at marketing their company on social media. I wanted to just give them a plug and correct that. So I thought that was kind of cool. What do you think?
I think that was great. I mean, the fact that she reached out to everybody who commented on her page just, shows the integrity of a company who wants to portray themselves in the best light and educate their consumer.
Right, because that's really what it all boils down to. It's about having an informed consumer. I really feel that the power is with the public. If they know what they're doing, like that's how they can best control themselves. And really, that's what the whole point of this show is educating the public. And there's been we're not new to social media marketing. We have a company, Innovative Credit Solutions, and we've been on social media marketing that company for, since as long as we've been able to social media market. We've been around for 12 years with Innovative Credit Solutions. And so that company has a very big social media presence here in our area. And now with the Extra Credit Show, we're building up that brand. And so we got a comment on one of our Instagram posts. And that comment is really what sparked the topic of today's show. Now, I don't know if you guys if you guys don't follow us on Instagram, make sure you follow us on Instagram. But this comment was one of our posts, and it basically was just like a linking to somebody else. And I thought that was kind of weird. But the name of this page was Credit Repair _Solutions. So of course, we look. And I did. And
you just have to.
Right. And this page, what they're doing is they're advertising, selling CPN numbers.
Oh.
And I was just like, oh, one of those, and people don't know what CPN numbers are. CPN numbers are
credit protection numbers.
Is that what that stands for?
Credit protection numbers. They've been around for some time now. It's nothing new, and really, it's just a scam. What happens is, you go to Joe's credit repair company, and they try to sell you on the idea that, this Credit Act of 1974, Privacy Act is what it is, of 1974, if I'm not mistaken, deemed that you have a right not to provide your social security number if you don't want to. That's the basis of it. And that you have a right to establish this other number to give creditors instead of your social security number to apply for credit. And the bottom gist of it, from what I understand, is that this credit protection number makes you a new credit profile.
Well, that sounds legit up because when they start quoting, I'm looking at their website, And so they start quoting what you mentioned, that
Oh, there's a website?
1974, yeah, official, not gonna say it. A 1974 U.S. Privacy Act Title 5. Well, that sounds legit, right? I don't know too many people who will actually look up that Privacy Act. It's just a load of baloney. But essentially, you're right. And the dynamic that happens in the credit repair space or the credit reporting world, period, yeah, is if you're using a different number, chances are you're just going to pop up with a different credit report. So that's actually what makes this work. Is you're using the same name probably, but this made up CPN number. And I've heard it as like a CPN number or a secondary credit number, a SCN number. There's a kinds of silly acronyms for it.
Some of them will actually try to get you to apply for an EIN number.
Right, and so the formula is just a 9-digit number that is the same sequence as a social security number. So what the scam is, you pay them for this credit privacy number. So you pay them money, they give you this number, and now you reestablish credit under this new number, which is basically like creating a second identity. That's really what it is. And the whole keeping your social security number protected is absolute baloney, simply because you're not protecting it. What you're actually doing is just not using it anymore and just starting up under a new identity. That is illegal, and that is a serious ticket, one-way ticket to jail.
Guys, little known secret. Providing anything other than a social security number when you apply for credit is illegal. It will send you to jail.
Yeah, it is. It is definitely illegal. You're breaking all kinds of laws,
it's
federal
fraud.
laws. It's just loan fraud, basically. It's what it boils down to. And so people have gone to jail for it. I'll give you a short story. For example, here's a press release from 2015, not that long ago, and this has been going on for years. This is just the latest one that we found. This person was selling CPN numbers to consumers, and the federal government cracked down on him. United States Attorney announced the sentencing of a man in his role in a fraud scheme. What they were doing is they were using stolen social security numbers that either belonged to people that were minors or people that were deceased. And they were using these numbers, reselling them as credit privacy numbers. And they scammed a whole bunch of people, but really the people that get scammed don't know that they're getting scammed, but they're implicated and they were charged as well. And that's pretty scary.
Wow.
Because not just the credit repair operators were charged, but the people that benefited from the use of the CPN numbers were charged. And these people may not have known they were doing something illegal, but they really were, right? You know that old saying, ignorance is no excuse, however that saying goes, that these people got in big trouble. And I'll tell you what, guys, as soon as I've been around for a long time in the credit repair space, 12 years now. I've seen this before. It never felt right. And as people started going to jail, I was like, that's certainly something we're going to steer really clear away from, because we don't look good in orange.
There was a really, no. There was a big case actually just a few years back, and we were looking this up a few days ago. In fact, I think you showed it to me this morning, how in Florida, the scam got so big that the credit repair companies actually involved law enforcement into their schemes.
That's a different kind of scam, right? So the CPN scam is just basically they're making up a new social security number and they're feeding you jargon like it's real, and it's not. In fact, it's just they make it sound so good, but it's so easy to make things sound so good. I'll give you this as an example. This is a story. In a rather strange shift of priorities from economics, foreign war, healthcare, and the like, today the Senate passed a bill, SB 497, which was subsequently signed into law by President Barack Obama. The bill puts an end to credit file segregation through credit profile numbers and forces individuals to use only their current social security number for credit and tax purposes. In addition, those who currently possess a credit profile number may face criminal prosecution. Does that sound real?
I mean, it sounds legit.
I just made it up.
It sounds
There
legit.
is no SB 497. It's just all a load of crap. But the point that we're trying to make is that it sounds real, and that's what they're doing, is they just quote these random laws and numbers, and you're like, well, sounds good, sign me up. And, you got to know what you're getting into. If it sounds too good to be true, it is. And the CPN numbers are just a load of baloney, basically, is what that boils down to, guys. Don't be fooled. If you are following our page, it's probably because you're interested in credit, learning more about credit, or wanting to fix your credit. And if you run across one of these CPN guys or CPN companies or CPN websites, don't do it unless you want a one-way ticket to jail. So,
And for those of you who are, for some reason, still thinking about it, remember, credit bureaus are not fooled that easily. Even if you provide a different social security number, they're still going to link you, the credit bureaus. They're still going to link you by your name and your addresses. So if you're using this CPN number and still providing the addresses that you live in, they're still going to tag your new credit under your old credit. So they're not going to get fooled that easily. Even if you did want to use this, which I don't recommend. Again, it's illegal. It may not even work for you. You're just throwing your money down the drain.
I think that these operators are probably sophisticated enough to know that, and they're probably creating false addresses and maybe even changing up the names to that, because that's really the only way it would work. It's not just changing the social, but changing the name and the address. That way the bureau doesn't realize it's the same person.
Which, if you're thinking about it, you are literally just falsifying all information about you.
Now it's super loan fraud, and that's
willingly and knowingly.
Yeah, now you're in bigger trouble. So just don't do it. If you guys have any questions or ran across anybody that's selling CPN numbers, run the other way. It's not legit. Don't risk it. It's not worth it.
EIN numbers or secondary protection numbers, whatever they call it, run away.
And this is the kind of stuff that started the show, right? Because we would run across this stuff and then you and I would just talk about it, and we would just be very passionate about it because people were just getting duped. And so that's why we started the show, guys, is because we run across this stuff all the time in our business. And, going back to what you brought up earlier, another common credit repair scam, and this one just really upset me because it was just, talk about being unfair advantage to legitimate credit repair companies. So if you're in the credit repair business and you're legitimate and you follow all the rules, this one really hit home because these people were just doing us real bad. And so this scam is, we know it as falsely claiming identity theft, right? And so identity theft has a lot of protections for consumers. If you are a victim of identity theft, you have a ton of protections to protect you from liability. But if you falsely claim identity theft, that's illegal because you're committing perjury. And there's a bunch of charges that can come with that. But this particular scam actually involved the police. So a couple members of law enforcement in this particular city, somewhere in Florida, we're just going to leave it unnamed, but you can look it up. The credit repair operators would pay the police officers to provide these identity theft reports.
It's like $250 a pop, right?
Something like that, right? Every time. And then this identity theft report would give the consumer the protections under the Identity Theft Act, and then basically wipe off everything off of their credit report. So it didn't involve CPN numbers, but they just filed fraud on everything, even if it wasn't fraud. And therein lies the crime. And these people these police officers got nailed real bad because it was such a big scam, such widespread, and then it involved the police.
Well, the police officers were committing fraud themselves by falsifying these fraud reports.
So it was just a really bad look, right? If the police department is involved in creating, because that's what makes an identity theft claim legit, is a police report. So if the police is involved in making these reports, even though they're false, they're just still, stamping them with official police report. Therein lies the crime. And all of these people that were involved in this credit repair scheme, from the police officers to the credit repair operators to the sellers to even the consumers or clients themselves, they all got charges. And these aren't petty charges, guys. This is the feds. This is the federal government filing criminal charges against you for a bunch of different high-level offenses, right? You're talking about fraud, mail fraud, wire fraud, just stuff that sounds terrible. So,
and it makes sense, though. Generally, I'm not on the creditor side because they do take advantage of consumers in a lot of ways. But in this case, you really are hurting creditors, which is essentially just going to hurt the rest of us consumers, because if they're losing all kinds of money to this kind of scheme, fraud, now they're going to have to incorporate it into their services and raise the costs for everybody else, or start treating consumers differently because they have to protect themselves against, this type of fraud. So you're hurting a lot of people by doing this.
More losses for the banks just raises the cost of doing business, which raises the cost of legitimate consumers doing business with those banks. It's just simple economics. But the scam here, guys, is if someone promises that they can delete accurate information from your credit report, like, you know, bankruptcies or short sales or judgments, and they're just like adamant about it. They're either lying or they're involved in some type of fraud. Likely the identity theft fraud. We saw that one big in 2015, 2016, where they were just claiming fraud or identity theft on everything. And it doesn't matter if you as a consumer didn't know that they were doing, or if you didn't know that that was illegal. You know, it's all being done under your name, and that's how you get implicated in this stuff.
For all you viewers, consumers listening out there, the Fair Credit Reporting Act is a great tool, and it allows you as the consumer to challenge accounts that are inaccurate. However, you do not have the right to dispute things that you know to be valid and legitimate. That is actually illegal. And if you know this account is legitimate and valid, don't dispute it. Don't go claiming fraud. Don't go, it's going to get you in trouble.
The rookie credit repair dispute is not mine, right?
Yeah.
Rookie credit repair people will file a not mine claim on something like that. And then they use the mail. They mail a letter saying not mine, and now you're committing mail fraud. And if it goes across state lines, it's a federal crime. Like, this stuff is real. People go to jail for it. So know what you're getting into.
Exactly.
So that scam involved the police, right? So the fraudulent police reports basically had the endorsement and the cooperation of that local police department. But it doesn't have to have the endorsement of the local police department. No. They were just paying the cops off to get these reports turned around without them doing their due diligence. Because on a normal police report investigation that's done, when you file a claim, the police officer is going to look at the facts and write up a report on it, right? And if the facts don't coincide because you're saying things and the credit report looks something different, right? Things don't match up, the police officer may not sign off on it. So the scam does not need the police cooperation to happen. It just needs someone to file a fraudulent police report with the police department, which when you get down to the very bottom, it says if you lie about this knowingly, you're committing perjury, and that in itself is a big crime. So don't do that. Don't do that scheme. Don't fall for it. Be aware of it and know what you're doing, because there's a ton of credit repair operators out there that will help you do it legitimately. And there's a bunch of them that will try to do it, kind of shady like this, or flat out illegally, whether it's a CPN number or a fraudulent one or a fraudulent claim. That kind of stuff gets you in trouble, guys. And that's the point that we're trying to drive home today. Understand the scams so you can steer clear away from them.
And this isn't the only one either. There are other scams out there. How about the adding trade lines to the credit report?
That is huge. That's really big, because it's almost like a loophole in the law, but we feel very strongly against it for several reasons. But let's talk about that, because that one is probably the most common shady way to improve your score if you're paying for it. Mm-hmm. And so we're gonna get really deep into that, because I wanna get your opinion on a couple of things. So we all know, well, maybe you guys don't, but we know that you can add somebody, if you have a credit card.
You'll know after we tell you.
Yeah. You can add them as an authorized user on your credit card, and that will likely show up on that person's credit report. Okay. So if that shows up on that person's credit report, it will help them improve their credit.
Okay.
Right. So just a quick example. Actually, this did happen. I added my wife to one of my older credit cards with a high limit, and I don't use it, so it's got a zero balance. And I added her onto that card. And then it showed up on her credit report, and she hit the 800 club. It was beautiful.
Instant credit. It just gave her that boost. But that's perfectly legal. Yes.
Because she's my wife. We share a household. We have household income.
You share the credit card?
We share the credit card. We have debt, or we share, right? Like household income, household debt. Like sometimes, like that's totally legal.
Yes.
It also happens in parents and sons, or parents and daughters, right? Mm-hmm. Where you can add your daughter to your as an authorized user on your card. It'll help boost her credit report when she turns 18. She kind of gets a little kickstart, right? And the whole predictor of risk is, you got her back, right? If you financially you support your daughter even as a young adult, chances are you are supporting her as a young adult,
which is true. There's nothing wrong with it.
That is totally legal. My wife didn't pay me to add her on as an authorized user. Generally, that's not the way that it happens. But adding trade lines or paying for it is where you get into a real gray area. So they're abusing this loophole of authorized users, and now they're monetizing it. And I think where it becomes illegal is when you exchange money for it.
Exactly.
Now, there is no law on the books that says paying for trade lines is illegal. I looked. But it's clearly a very gray area because the system was not designed for me to take in $1,000 and add you on my credit card for a 2-month period so that you can go get a loan somewhere that otherwise you wouldn't qualify for. Right? The system is not designed for that, but people are exploiting that loophole, I guess, and monetizing for it. And I think that's where
It's still illegal though, because it's still an intent to defraud.
it actually is exactly that, right? So the act of doing that is not illegal, but now you as a consumer, you've inflated your credit report. Now you've basically committed a loan. You've lied on your loan application about your credit worthiness, and that's loan fraud. That's a federal crime, and you go to jail. And there's been people that have gone to jail for it. We found a case. Indianapolis man sentenced in identity theft scheme. That's not the right one.
We look up stuff all the time. So
Okay, so this one, what they were doing was this company in New Jersey. Well, not a company, but these illegal operators. They created a company where it was a fake furniture company.
Okay.
They sold no furniture, but they got an account to report to the credit bureaus, and they duped the bureaus into thinking they were a legitimate furniture company. But what they were doing is they were selling trade lines. So they're saying, pay me $1,000 and I'll add a trade line on your credit report that says that you've had this account for 5 years and you got a $10,000 limit and a perfect payment history, right? But there was actually no furniture bought or sold. This was a shell company. It was fake. And they were doing this. And obviously, if you do that and you get a fake trade line like that on your credit report, it's going to work. It's going to help your score. So they probably had a lot of happy customers until the feds come knocking on the door. You're going to jail because you've just committed loan fraud and all this and that. And it's like, well, that was not worth it at all. And so there's a lot of these schemes that are out there, whether it's from a shell company lying about what they're, the credit that they are issuing, because in this case, they weren't issuing anything, to companies that match people up. So say, for example, I can sign up with this company and they'll go, all right, so we'll give you $300 for every person you add on a card. And then they go find people, charge them $1,500 for an account, $2,000 for an account. Literally, these are the prices they're charging. And then they pair us up. I add that person to my account for a short time. I get paid a little bit. That person gets great credit for a second. And then they get their loan. And then the only person that gets duped there is the bank. And that right there is where the loan fraud is committed. And that's a really gray area because, again, CPN numbers are outlawed. Lying about your social, that's against the law. Obviously, creating fake profiles, fake credit reports, that's against the law. Filing fake police reports is against the law. But authorized user is a legal way to do it, but it's not legal. In my opinion, it becomes illegal or it becomes fraud when you pay somebody to get that done. Somebody you don't even know.
Listen, guys, to clarify it for you, to simplify it, if you're lying in any way, shape, or form for financial gain, it is against the law, and you will suffer the consequences for it. Believe me, the feds do come, they do arrest people. So this is something that you don't want to get involved in, no matter what you're trying to do. It'll come back to bite you. We highly advise against it. Just don't do it. And if you see a company who's offering it, just run away.
Seriously, guys, I'm very passionate about this stuff. And it's like, okay, this stuff, to me, when we see this, before we had the show, we would see stuff like this and we're like, I can't believe this is going on. I can't believe people are falling for this. And we would just talk about it, but it would stay here in our office. And so the purpose of the show is to share our thoughts on crap like this, because it's harming you guys, it's deceiving you guys. And if you're watching the show and you sell trade lines, if you're watching this show and you sell credit privacy numbers, stop that. It's illegal. It's not right. It's like that stuff just smells. So just stop doing it. If you want to be in the credit repair space, do it legitimately. There's a Credit Repair Organizations Act. Read it. It's our Bible. We follow it, right? That is our guideline to operating a legitimate credit repair company. We started in credit repair when credit repair was not cool. right? There was no software company. Now there's a bunch of credit repair softwares. And so 12 years ago, credit repair was very difficult. It was very difficult to find a good credit repair company. Now,
Most people thought it was illegal.
most people thought it was illegal. Now there's a lot of solid credit repair companies with good track records. I know a lot of them. A lot of them are my friends. And so reach out to someone that's operating legally, that understands their craft well, and that does it full time. Not to knock on people that have side hustles, but credit repair is something very specialized. So if you're doing it part time, you're doing it out of your house, you just began doing it, or you're just you know what I mean? You wouldn't trust a part-time doctor, to help you or perform surgery on you. So don't trust a part-time credit repair person.
Weekend attorney.
A weekend attorney, that would be terrible, right? So just, words of wisdom there, guys. Anything else?
No, just, if you are in search for credit repair, do your research, figure out what's going on, and ask questions. If the credit repair company that you're going to is telling you that they're going to fix your credit, ask them how. Ask them, how does this work? Why does it work? And if they don't give you legitimate answers, or you hear the same response over and over and over, they're probably not a legitimate company, and you should look elsewhere.
And if CPNs are involved, or adding Tradelines are involved for a fee, or filing fake police reports are involved, run. Don't go to jail. Guys, this is the Extra Credit Show. You cannot listen to us in jail, but you can listen to us if you're out of jail. So I am your host, Anselmo Moreno.
And I'm Richard David.
We'll see you guys next time.
Dude, we forgot the Extra Credit Task of the Week.
What's up, everybody? We forgot the Extra Credit Task of the Week.
Oh, man, that is so special. So, for the Extra Credit Task of the Week, share this show
with everybody you know.
Exactly.
Because you don't want your friends to go to jail, right? Or maybe you do. But either way, share the show with everybody that you know, so that the Extra Credit Show can grow. We really want to grow. So share the show with everybody that you know. Share us on Facebook. Follow us on Instagram. Just share with everybody, because we are passionate about credit repair and helping you guys master your credit score. So there you go. Share the show.
What was that old saying? The more you know, the more you grow?
Yes. See you guys next week.